What's happened to Tibalt? Tibalt was the first two-mana planeswalker in Avacyn Restored, and he was a meme that he was terrible. And people were waiting for one day the card to be broken or to Tibalt return and redeem himself. He got a few more versions, Tibalt in War of the Spark, then a Tibalt in Arena, and between that, he was the villain in Kaldheim, where he was a Tibalt planeswalker on the backside of Valky, God of Lies. He was an imposter wearing a hood. And then he got completed. The main villain who stole the seed that allowed the Phyrexians to invade the universe, he got completed by the Phyrexians. But weirdly, he didn't get completed with art or a card. Do you seem to remember that there was a Tibalt card? There just wasn't. There's no card and no art. It's weird because some people seem to act like there was, or when I mention this to them, they're like, there was definitely a Tibalt card, right? No. There wasn't. This video is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com. Use the code Kenobi, check out the link in the description below to get 5% off your order on any Magic the Gathering cards or Pokemon or any other card game, really. Check out the link in the description below. Tibalt had a bit of a following, right? People were excited for him to come back, and when he came back as the big bad wolf, the big bad guy of Kaldheim, it felt like he was getting his day in the sun. His card was really, really powerful too, and it was even like kind of broken until they did some rules changes to stop people cascading into it and shit. This art in particular, the alternate like full frame thing, is gorgeous. He's full on using magic to mask the way he looks. Then when you flip him over, there he is. It almost looks like he's a bit doubtful of what he's doing, actually. The backside doesn't look like it has the conviction of the front, but either way, big fan of this card. The front end is really good, the back end is really good, powerful, versatile. I think it really was a massive glow up for how powerful Tibalt should be as a planeswalker. Then Wizards teased with these images that 5 of these walkers would get completed. For some reason, Tibalt was absent. Tibalt shows up in the story for Phyrexia All Will Be One as Tyvar's sort of like spoil, his foil even is probably the correct word to use, not spoil, his foil, his enemy, right? He stole a seed from Tyvar's homeworld. They have a rivalry, and that rivalry came to a head in one of the stories where Tyvar and Tibalt stand off on a bridge. This is the art for the card that depicts that story moment, Tyvar's stand. Quite a strong card, see some play. In the story, Tyvar defeats him and throws him off the bridge. Tibalt tumbles to his death, Wilhelm scream and all, but we don't see the body. We don't see the body in the story, and we don't see the body going on from there. Tyvar's stand, as I understand it, is the only example of Tibalt being shown completed on a Magic card. And again, people have told me that they were sure they'd seen one, but there isn't one. There is no Tibalt after this. He didn't show up in All Will Be One or March of the Machine's Alchemy. He wasn't in Aftermath. We didn't ever get a depiction of him actually as the Phyrexianized Walker before Tyvar threw him off the fucking bridge. We never got to see Tibalt in his Phyrexian form like we did with the other Walkers, like we did with Nissa or Vraska or Jace. Why was Tibalt left out? It's really strange to me. Like, is he cut content? Was he somewhere? And if he was cut content, why didn't he make it into Aftermath, right? Aftermath was the set of cut content. But if we didn't see the body, we didn't see him as a planeswalker, we didn't see him fall beyond that one fight. And bearing in mind that's Tyvar's stand. It's not Tibalt's defeat. We've had cards depict when planeswalkers have lost before. We've had cards depict when planeswalkers have sacrificed themselves before. There is no card saying Tibalt's fall, Tibalt's defeat, Tibalt fell off a bridge and disappeared. As Elspeth fights Ajani as her big nemesis moment, her best friend turned to the dark side, Tyvar fights Tibalt. And to be clear, I say that we don't see the body, but I'll read the actual line to you. The last thing Elspeth saw before she ran off the bridge following the trail the others had taken was Tyvar driving his twin barbs of Tibalt's tail into the space that should have held the Phyrexian's heart. So he stabs Tibalt with his own tail. Tibalt screamed, high and agonised, and was still screaming as Tyvar shoved him off the bridge. Wilhelm scream moment. There was a sickening crunch as Tibalt slammed into the bridge below, followed by silence. I don't think he's dead. There's no way Tibalt is dead at this point, right? We didn't even see him crushed into the ground. We didn't see a removal spell, but we just saw Tyvar being big and strong and covered in Hexblade gold stuff. I reckon he was saved after this. Hell, he was a god at one point, right? That's got to mean something. That's got to have some sort of positive impact on your ability to survive falling off a fucking bridge. Even if it's quite a tall bridge. I have a theory that we'll see Tibalt again as a remnant of the Phyrexian invasion, as his own force where he's now part god, part Phyrexian, I don't know, something like that. But also, part of me doesn't even want to think about this anymore because Tibalt being missing, Atraxa being killed in one line, and Praetor being killed off by new characters who've just shown up in one line because they didn't look before they leapt. All of this stuff is such fucking shit resolution. I thought All Will Be One was okay, but March really nailed it home for me that there's just not enough space for these stories to breathe. 5 story articles on the main website, and then some booster pack put out with 50 cards in it, with 3 of them for Commander and 1's for Modern, and no one's buying it. Like, what is this? It's crap. I'm being quite negative about Magic at the moment because I'm feeling the pressure of it, the stress of it. I love the game. I think the game's great. The game will always be one of my favourite games, if not my favourite game of all time. And I want to get excited and be like, oh, I wonder when Tibalt's actually going to come back from the dead, as it were. Or when will we see Elishon, she's fucked. When will we see the Eldrazi and Emrakul again? But ultimately, the stories are actually quite... The build-up is good, but they never really pay off in the ways I want them to. Either way, I wanted to point out how it's absolutely bizarro land that we never saw Tibalt. We never saw him completed, nor did we see his corpse or his actual defeat. We saw, I guess, the moment before, seconds before disaster, which is something. More than Dak got. Don't forget, Dak was killed technically off screen. I guess he was stabbed in a trailer. And Dovin Barn also died in like a single line from a book. Some planeswalkers get done real dirty. I would like to see justice for Dak and justice for Tibalt somewhere down the line. We get a flashback in a Commander product. What about a Commander product where we get completely Tibalt at the helm and it's like a snapshot in time during the battles of March of the Machine, or All Will Be One, or, well, All Will Be One, he's dead by the time March came around. Anyway, a little interesting point about the fact that Tibalt just fucking disappeared. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all that shit. And I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ta for now.